Hi everyone, and welcome to our August Patchwork Project of the Month. And today we're going to focus on Dresden plates. So I was going to do another stash buster, but I just love Dresden plates. So I thought, I'll do a class on this and show you our line of Dresden plates and toppers and a fun little pillow project we can do. So the Dresden plate is a block named after a German city of Dresden, and it I guess was famous for porcelain plates that were decorated with colorful flowers and foliage. And it sounds like the block first appeared in the 1920s, and then it was published as a pattern in the 1930s. So it became very popular. I guess it's also known as Grandmother's Sunburst, the Friendship Ring, and Sunflower, and a couple other different names that it's known for. But I love the look of a little applique. It kind of reminds me of old-fashioned quilts, but then you can take a fresh approach to it with different colors in pillows and wall hangings, and the varieties are just endless. And so with the Westerly Design Dresden set or line, you get so many variations. I can't wait to show you guys if you haven't really looked into our Dresden plates before. So first of all, we have the actual Dresden plate. So this is the Dresden plates. This is what they look like. You have an 8-point, which means it's going to give you 8 points. So it's already designed to allow for the seam allowance. So if you cut out 8, it will symmetrically fit 8 points all the way around. It comes in a 10-point if you want a little bit more intricate, and then all the way down to 12. Comes in 16, and then in 20. So if you want to do 20 all the way around. I tend to focus, I think, on 12 and 16 the most. I just like the look of them. I think this is 16 and that one's 16 as well. But what we're going to do in the class today is going to be 12. So the nice thing about the Dresden, so you have the different points that you can get. So these are the plates. And then we also have what are called the Dresden toppers. So the toppers are what are going to give you the different shapes to the top of the Dresden. So for instance, this one, you can see how it's more of a block design. This one is kind of more the traditional, just a traditional look of a Dresden cutout. So we have 4 different toppers. So for this one, this is the Persian topper, and this is the 12-point. So each of the different toppers come in all of the different plates. So for instance, this is a 12-point, so that would go with the 12-point topper. And then within that, you can make them 6, 8, 10, and 12 as far as size. So just in this one set here, you have oodles of variation. And then that Persian topper also comes in the 8-point and the 10-point and the 16-point. So the variety, there's so much variety. It's kind of overwhelming. So we have that one. We also have this topper with that kind of a shape. And then we have more of the block one, which kind of looks like that. And then we have this one, which we're going to show you in the class today, that looks like this. So a lot of fun. There's so much you can do with them. I really like the variety. We also have what we call nested centers. So you can make different center cutouts in the middle if you like. For instance, this one I actually used a little bit of a hexagon to match. This one I just did a traditional circle using our circles and straights tool. But we have lots of different nested centers as well that come in different sizes to use in the center. So just to give you an idea, you can look here, and I'll show you some pictures too when we're done with this, just of the different ways that you can use all of the Dresdens in the different sizes. So the variety is, like I said, it's an endless variety. There's all your toppers, so you can kind of pick and choose. And then there's also a great video on our Westerly YouTube channel that Leonie does that shows you how to fold these over so you get the finished edge once you've cut them out. But I also found a great product that does it really easy. And for me, I liked it a little bit better than, like, some people use freezer paper or different things to help kind of fold that over. And that way you don't have a raw edge. So I ended up finding a company called, well, the product is called Whisper Light, and it's by Thistledown and Company. And this whole thing was only $5. And let me pull it out and I'll show you. It literally is just a super, super lightweight. It's like a, not a stabilizer, but I don't know, I guess a tracing foundation paper or something like that. But it's super, super lightweight. And then I'll show you how I use that very easily to create the finished edges on these once you cut them out. So anyways, I'll go ahead and show you a quick little video with all of the different shapes and different sizes. And then we'll get started on creating a fun little pillow project. And we're going to go ahead and finish it off with our feather embroidery collection around the Dresden that we do on the pillow. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the class today. All right, so let's get started. So today I have chosen the 12-point Dresden plate. And you can also see within each of the different Dresden plates, the 12, the 16, the 10, and 8, they also have different sizes within that based on how big you want to actually make the Dresden plate. So that's kind of a fun variation too. So that's one of the things I really, really like about these is the amount of variations you get with just one plate and one topper. So for today, I'm going to use the 12-point and I'm going to use a 12-inch topper. And to figure out how to cut or what width of fabric you're going to need, we're going to use the black guide on the back of this, and we're going to line that up with our adjustable ruler. And just make sure, I already did line this up, but what you would do is come down and make sure that black guide and that tip touch the black guide on the adjustable ruler. And you just make sure that is even on both sides, and then that's going to give you the exact width that you need to cut your fabric, so that when you cut it out, you're not wasting anything and you get the exact size Dresden plate that you need. So I've already got a straight edge here, and what we're going to do is just line this up. So what we're going to do is line this up, and I'm going to cut out my width of fabric. And you can stack your fabric, cut out a bunch at one time, however you want to do it. And then once you get it cut out, I'll show you how we're going to do the Dresden plate. So I'm going to take this piece of fabric that we already have done right here. And it's nice because you can just put this on here. It's already cut to the exact size. And again, this is probably something that is really good to use a rotating mat on. Probably a lot easier, so you're not coming back and cutting at your fingers like I'm doing right now. Which I'm just doing this because I'm trying to film at the same time. But anyways, there you go. You've got your two plates right there. And you can just stack your fabric and do a whole bunch at one time or a little at a time. So those are our actual plates. So we're going to cut 12 of those. You can, again, do them in alternating colors, contrasting colors, all the same. It just depends on what look you're going for. And then I will show you how to do the topper next. Here's an up-close view of what that product is. So it's called Whisper Light Tracer Foundation Paper. And it's super, super thin and light, but it's just enough to you can stitch it. And then it holds it as you flip that over to get your finished edge. And again, this whole thing was only $5.99. And it is available by Thistledown. You can go to their website and order it. And I love it. If you do any sort of applique or foundation piecing, this stuff works really good. So I'm going to show you how I trace it and then stitch it out. Okay, so I have a piece of the tracing paper, that Whisper Light, and I just put a regular piece of paper under this because it is, the ink will transfer, and I just didn't want to get it on my cutting mat, but I'm just going to line this up to the edge, and I'm just tracing this part of the topper just like this. That's it. So I'm going to cut this out, and I'll show you how I stitch it on the actual Dresden plate, and then how we'll make our actual finished Dresden plate with the topper on it. Okay, so I have the Whisper Light tracing paper, and I have, it's kind of probably hard to see in the video, but I can see it pretty well in person. I've got the tracing of my topper on it. So what I'm going to do is take my Dresden plate, and I'm going to line up the little edges. So these little marks right there, which would have been the edge of the topper, onto my Dresden plate, where it's even. So that tells me that's exactly where I need it. So those little lines there, let me get the actual Dresden plate and I'll show you the topper. Okay, so I think this will make more sense. So we traced it, when we traced it just like that. So those little lines that I drew right here and right here, I just kind of slide this tracing paper down to where those match perfectly on the edges right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching, and I'm going to stitch around that line. So it would have been nice if there was a way that you could use these and actually do it, but they're not meant for that. So they're meant to give you the design and the shape, but you still have to have something to use to stitch that on or cut that out of your Dresden. So like I said, you could just use it and cut that out, but then you'd have a raw edge, and so you'd have to know how, you'd have to fold it over. Well, this also again allows for your seam allowance. So if you do fold it over, you still get that exact shape, versus if you cut it out and then just fold it over manually, I don't think you get the same shape as clean anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and I'm just gonna stitch right on that line. So doesn't need to be a 1/4 inch. You're gonna stitch, I'm gonna put my needle right in the middle. I can find my middle, hang on a second. I just upgraded my machine. Well, I got an upgrade. So I had the Baby Lock Ariel, and now I have the Altair. So I don't have my Sew Steady table yet, and that's why I have my embroidery unit on right now. And we're gonna be doing embroidery too, so that's one of the reasons. But anyways, so I do have it in sewing mode, but get you right back down here a little bit. Hopefully this will stay. For some reason, it keeps wanting to creep away. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna stitch right on the line that I traced. And I like to do a little bit of a back stitch right at the edge. And then you're just gonna follow that around. And because this topper, the design I chose of topper, is a little bit curved, you're gonna wanna go slower and smaller stitches so that we can get that nice curve. And I actually, when I get to the top here a little bit, I kinda move my fabric a little bit so it doesn't bunch. And you're gonna just stitch all the way around right on that line until you get back to this other edge. And then we're gonna do a little bit of a back stitch right there. And then I'll go ahead and cut it and show you what it looks like. So what I've done now is just use that tracer paper to stitch out my shape there. And I'll show you what I do next. So once you have that stitched on, I'm gonna take my scissors, and I'm just gonna trim about 1/4 inch around where I just stitched that stitch line. So I'm gonna just trim that off. So that's all excess. And then I'm gonna trim off this excess that I don't need down here. I'm gonna trim all that off, just like that. So then now what I have is, you can just see I've got the shape that I want. So now how do I get my thinnest edge? You're just gonna take this and lightly, you gotta be careful because it is thin, and you're just gonna turn that inside out. And I'll use my little turner. I like this one. I can't remember where I got it. I think at my local quilt store, but I like it because it has a little bit of a rounded top to it versus some of the turners that have kind of a sharper point. I like this one because it's not very sharp. Get all this stuff out of the way. So I'm just gonna put it in there, and you're just gonna flip it and then put this right on that stitch line. You don't need to press very hard, but I'm just gonna follow it around, and then I'll iron it and kind of even it out. But there you go. That's how you get your finished, you're gonna get your finished edge all the way around. And that way you don't have a raw edge. And this works really good too for some of the toppers. There's one that's kind of a Persian topper, so it's got a little bit of a unique shape to it. And I found it really hard to do with freezer paper, where this, I could just trace it, stitch it, and then flip it, and there you go. And you won't even know it's there because it's such a lightweight material, and it kind of almost fuses. Once I iron this, this kind of almost like sticks a little bit to the fabric too, and it makes it really nice and stiff for your Dresden plate. Anyway, so that's it. As easy as that. We do this however many times you want. We're going to do it 12 times because we're doing a 12-point topper, but if you're doing 16, same thing. And you just trace it and go. And it doesn't take a lot of that paper or that little tracing stuff. And again, you get a pretty big sack of it for $5.99. So I thought it was a pretty good deal. But there we go. There is your finished topper. Well, Dresden plate with the rounded topper on it. All right, let's do this 12 more times and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention too, so before I flip it, you can actually put little cut marks in here too, just so that you get a nice smooth curve, just because this design does have the curve. So I did do that on my last ones too. I just failed to show that to you. So before I flip it, I would just do a little cut. Make sure you don't cut the stitches, but just do some little cuts in there to kind of give the fabric a little relief when you turn it over. And then you get your nice curved Dresden. Oh, that one, that didn't turn out too bad. So that one looked pretty good. So anyways, there's the one that we practiced. So what I did for our pillow class today is I went ahead and got my 12 cut up. So I used some of my stash fabric, and I just picked ones that were complementary, but also a little contrasting. And I cut out my 12. I went ahead and used the Whisper Light, and yeah, you can kind of see how if you can see that one, I kind of cut a little bit. Used my Whisper Light, sewed them and got them pressed, and then try to lay them out in a pattern that I wanted. So that's kind of nice too, as you can play around with how you want it laid out and what kind of look you want to go for. And you can do just 2 colors, you can do 3 colors, you could do it all in 1 color. So you saw the videos of all the different kind of options that we showed earlier, just to give you an idea of how you can play around with it. So I've already sewed half of this, but I'll show you how we're going to do that. So you're going to take your 2 and flip that over, and you're going to line up that little point there, and you're going to stitch, and you're just going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam all the way down that. And we'll show you that here in just a second, but we're going to do that on all the rest of these. And then here's the first half that's already done. And also when you do press them, you just want to make sure your seams are going all in the right, or all in the same direction. So that's going to make it a little layout very nice too, and you don't get it kind of puckering or anything like that. So this is the first half, and we'll go ahead and get this second half sewn together and go from there. Anyways, this is what it looks like. Thought it'd be kind of a fun, soft colors for summer. And I like the old-fashioned designs, I guess. They kind of go with the whole Dresden look. So anyways, let's get these other ones sewn up. Okay, so I have 2 of my little Dresden plate designs here. And I'm just going to start sewing them together. So I'm going to line up that little point and that point down there, and you are just going to sew 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. And I do like to do a back stitch on these again too, just so you keep those top edges together. It does give it a little bit more stability. Slow down here, I don't know why I'm going so fast. And just make sure those line up there. There we go. And you can chain piece these together if you get them organized in the way that you want them to go around. And then we're just gonna, I'm gonna finger press this one a little bit, and there we go. So I do them in batches of 2, and then I like to go press them and then come back and keep sewing them together. So we're just gonna go ahead and do these 3 pairs that I've got going right here. Kind of do my back stitch. Gonna finger press that open, just like that. Kind of makes a heart, that design, huh? It's kind of a cute idea. Alrighty, and let me get my 3rd one here lined up. And I'm gonna sew this one together. Apparently my foot is very sensitive today. I keep slamming on my presser foot. Okay. Too much coffee? Must have been too much coffee. So I've got these 3 pairs. So what I'm going to do is go press them just so that they're nice and pressed, and they're all pressed the same way. And then I'm going to come back and then I'm going to sew these 3 pairs together. Okay, so I got them all pressed. I'm going to put these 2 together just like that. And we're going to do the same thing. Press that one open. And then we're going to take my last one and put it up here, and then we'll have both halves done, and then we'll sew both halves together, and I'll show you that. So let's get this going here. Okay, I got myself a little, there we go. And I really love how the math is kind of taken out of all of this for you. So you don't have to worry about it not matching up all the way around once you get them all done. So I'm going to go and press this half, and then I'll bring it back, and we're going to sew both halves together. But there we go. There's one half so far. Okay, so I have these 2 halves. Everything's pressed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these together. So I'm just going to do the top part of one first. So meaning I'm not going to stitch all the way down. I'm going to just do the one first. Then I'm going to go press it and make sure everything lays flat. And then I'll come back and do the last one. And that way you can make sure that it lays really nice and flat. So I'm just going to do this one. And just go all the way to the middle, and we're going to again stop at the middle. We're not going to keep going. Right there. Cut that. I'm going to go press this, and I'll be back. Okay, so we just now have this one little section to do. And why I like to just do that one half and then go press it and everything is that way if there are any adjustments that need to be made. So while the templates themselves are precise, obviously my cutting is not always precise, and my stitching is not always precise, and there's so many other things at play that by the time you get to this very last one, if you do need to make any adjustments so that it lays flat, you can do that. But for the most part, I think there's enough give that if you are doing your quarter and seam allowances and you cut everything pretty straight, it should turn out just about perfect. So I'm going to line up this last one and stitch this out. It does look like I was a little off on my cut on my one, so we'll see here. Okay, here we go. So we'll go press that seam in the right direction and make sure it all flows in the right direction. But otherwise, once I press it, there we go. Got one Dresden done. So we'll go press it and show you what it looks like. All right, there we go. What do you think? Are these all pretty nice? You guys can see the colors. And what I like too is that when you press the seams all in the same way, look at that nice little spiral you get in the middle. I didn't do that. It just automatically creates that nice little spiral when you just do them in sections and you just keep going around. So that is another nice thing about the Dresden plates. They just make everything so easy. So when you're done, you have that perfect plate with whatever topper it was you decided to use. And then now we can do whatever we want for the center. You can do a circle, you can do some of those nested center designs that we have. You could do a hexagon, a star, a heart, just whatever we decide we wanted to do. A big old button, if you wanted a button in there for a pillow, I guess, that'd be kind of cool. So anyways, this is the background fabric that I have. It's kind of a really light green that I'm going to use as the the front of the pillow. And then I'll have a different color for the back of the pillow. And we'll go ahead and go on to the next steps. So what I'm going to do is use our Sew Steady fusible backing. I'm going to put that on the back of this. And I'm going to find the center. First, I'll cut my block down the size that I want. I'm not quite sure what size it's going to be yet, but I'll let you guys know. And I'm going to get the fusible on the back of this and get this centered for the front of my pillow first, because kind of where I'm going to start with the design. And then from there, we'll talk about any other decorative things we want to do around the Dresden plate before we move on to the embroidery designs that we're going to add to this. Anyways, there you go. Easy peasy. Okay, so I went ahead and put the template fuse on the back of my Dresden, and I cut my block down to 17 inch by 17 inch. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. So it was basically a fat quarter, and I just kind of took off an inch on each side. And then I just found my center, and with that fusible, I ironed my Dresden plate right on that. So now it is fused in place on my front of my pillow, and we can start doing some fun decorative stuff with it. So I was trying to decide what I want to use for the circle, so that's what I'm going to do next. And then I also wanted to show you, and let me get my other pillow here real quick, and I'll show you what I did. So you can come around. It's nice too, because a lot of times the fuse, got to the very edge on some of them, but there's a couple where I didn't get the fuse right to the very edge. But so you can do a stitch around here just to give it that extra, I don't know, just secure. So it makes it really secure on this pillow. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can use a thread that matches and just do a little straight stitch all the way, just kind of following it all the way around. You could use a decorative stitch, like maybe, I don't know, there could be some decorative stitches that you could use and kind of make it stand out a little bit more. Or I've also used, now I outlined this pillow with a decorative stitch, but to stitch down, it just gives some extra security to the Dresden part. I used a clear invisible thread. And that way you just don't see it, but it gives it that nice secure attachment, just an extra little thing to kind of make those points stay down. Because I guess over time, you know, you can start and get caught on stuff and pull up, and so it's good to kind of stitch them down. So if you don't want to see them, I'm trying to get as close as I can without it getting blurry. So I used, again, just a clear invisible thread, and I just followed along just as close as I could to the end. I can kind of see it. And that way, because I didn't really want to see the thread because I was doing this decorative thread kind of out here, and I wanted to see the color of the prints. I didn't want to be distracted from that, so I did a clear. So that is one option. So if you guys want to do something like that, you can. Again, there's a lot of different things you can do. Just depends on how busy you want it or what you're wanting to focus on and what you want to see. So I'm going to think about that here for a minute, and then I'll get back to you with my plan of attack. All right, so we are going to go ahead and sew on my middle part. I'm just going to do a circle. I decided on a 2.5-inch circle because we are going to be doing some embroidery feathers, and so I just wanted a plain little circle that we can do a little feather mandala in the middle for. And we could do it any size we want, actually. I was thinking a 2-inch, but maybe we do it a little bit bigger, but then I'm cutting off half my Dresden. So I don't know. I think I'm probably just going to do a 2-inch, and we'll just do a small little like mandala of the feather, and then we'll do other feather stuff around here. So I've got my fabric I've chosen for the middle. It's just kind of a like mauve. It's got a faint little flower design on it. You can hardly see it though. And I thought it would look good with the rest of that. So I'm just got my pin there right up in the middle of my Dresden. And I'm gonna put my little middle fabric on here. So you could use a lot of stuff to make this circle. We have our simple circles, which come in all sorts of different sizes that you can use. Our circles in straights tool. For smaller circles, I like the circles on quilts template, just because it's a little easier, I think, for me with smaller circles. So just make sure, yeah, that'll go all the way around. Anyways, and then I put a little bit of fusible fleece or fusible, yeah, backing on this. That way the little middle section will kind of poof out a little bit and stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to do that. And I'm trying to decide if I have the, yeah, I do. Okay. So I've got my westerly foot on there, and I'm just going to decide where I want to start. I don't know. It'd be better if I had my Sew Steady table. I think it's done today, so hopefully I'll get it this evening. It's a lot harder to do this on my embroidery attachment. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a 2.5-inch circle all the way around, and then we'll trim it off, and then we'll decide about doing like a decorative stitch around that, or just leaving it because we're gonna do that feather mandala in the middle. So maybe we just don't want, or I might just do like a blanket stitch or a zigzag or something around the outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. So it's kind of similar to my aerial, but it's a little bit different. So bear with me as I'm playing around with a new machine. And what else? Let's see. I think that's it. Okay. I don't know which way I'm sewing. I guess I'm sewing this way. Sounds like I need to change my needle. It's kind of, well, I guess I am going through a lot of fabric. So if you've used the circles on quilts, they're super easy to use to make circles. I think they're one of the easier to use Westerly design templates, but again, another one of those things that you get a lot of bang for your buck out of because you can do so much with them. You can make Baptist fans, all manner of circles and all sorts of fun stuff. So They're a great template to have on hand if you don't have them already. We have a few free videos on our Sew Study University on them too, using them. They work pretty good. I'm doing this a little funny just because I don't have my table and I'm doing it on kind of the embroidery unit isn't necessarily flat. I mean, I guess it is, but not really. Anyhow, it'll get the job done. It's not ideal, but it'll get the job done. So then I'm going to get my scissors and cut that out. I guess I made it a lot bigger than I needed to be. I always do that. I'm always afraid I'm not going to have enough, and so I always cut way more than I really need. But I guess I'd rather have extra than not enough. This out. I might do a decorative stitch, just maybe like a blanket stitch or something, because I've got that fusible fleece under there. Kind of see it, I guess. Don't really want to see it. Maybe I should have undercut that so then it didn't stick out as much. All these things I think about later. Anyways, there we go. So I'm gonna go give that a little press with the iron and make sure that's all nice and get rid of that little hole in the middle. So sometimes when you get those holes, you can just run your finger over the fabric and it kind of pushes all of the woven material back together and that hole will go away. So there we go. I'm just gonna trim it up here just a tad. So I'm OCD that way, and then I'm gonna go press it and I'll be back. Okay, so I went ahead and pressed that. I think I'm gonna do a decorative stitch, but I'm gonna wait and do my embroidery design on there first, and then I'll decide what decorative stitch to do. So before I get all started with that, I am gonna use some clear thread. I have some clear thread in there, and or transparent, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to use that and go around at the outer side of the red Dresdens like I showed earlier. I decided not to do a color because, again, we're going to try to focus on some embroidery, so I don't want to detract from the embroidery or the pattern in the different Dresdens and stuff. So I'm just going to use a clear thread, and I'm just going to go around and just stitch down this outside. So I like to just get as close as possible. I just have my needle centered. I have a centered piecing stitch, and I'm going to start down here in this little valley, and I don't know what I'm doing there. And I'm just going to go slow and work my way around. So I probably won't video that because that'll take a little bit of time, but I'm just going to go ahead and work my way around, get it all stitched down, and then I'll be back. All right, I've got it all stitched down. You can't hardly see it. I like that. And it's nice too because this is, you know, with the curved design is a little bit harder. And so if I was using a colored thread, you would probably be able to see how crooked I am maybe a couple times on these, but with it all nice and clear, you can't see that, and it's nice and stitched down. It's simply fused down, so it should not be going anywhere. I don't know a lot about the this invisible thread. It kind of reminds me of just fishing line, I guess. It's a little finicky. I had to turn down my tension just a little bit. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I can't speak to it, whether it's good or bad. I just know I liked the fact that it was invisible. So anyways, let's move on to the next. I think now I might start doing some of the embroidery. So I will probably just go ahead and work my way out. So I'll probably start with a little mini design of the feathers for this middle here. Get like a little mini mandala, if I can speak, little flower mandala, feather mandala for the little middle part there. And then we'll decide what we want to do for feathers. We'll take a look at our embroidery feather collection and see what we might want to do for some feathers around the edges here, and keep working away on our little pillow. Okay, so this is the design I'm going to do. Just a little flower design for the center. It's going to be small. It's 2 inches by 2 inches because this was a 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch. So I'd found my center point of the circle. I've got myself all hooped up here. And I did do a bean stitch or triple stitch on this, so hopefully it'll stand out really well. And I just picked a little bit of a contrasting color thread, and I did test it out on my purple fabric just to see if it stood out very well. So we'll go ahead and give it a go and see if I like it and what it ends up looking like. Hopefully it all goes well. I'll keep you updated. There we go. What do you guys think? Get in there a little bit and zoom out. Actually, out is better. So that is the start of our feather embroidery designs on this. So I think next I'm going to go ahead and do a decorative stitch around here like I talked about. And I'm probably going to do it in the same color as that. I'm not sure what kind of decorative stitch I want to do yet. Probably something just simple, but just to kind of finish off that edge. And then we'll get started on the rest of our pillow design. There we go so far. So I wanted to show you what I ended up doing. I just did a little decorative stitch around the outside here. And I just kind of give it like a finished look. So anywho, that's what I did. I just wanted to show you that. And then I'm going to be on to embroidery next and go from there. All right, so I decided to start with just a larger version of what we did in the center here. And so that's going to look like that. So this is a feather mandala. And I'm going to put this in all 4 corners to start, and then I'll do something in between as well, like a feather plume or a feather leaf or something like that. So to start, I'm just going to get these stitched out. And again, I'm going to do this in just all 4 corners of the pillow. And I want to say it's a 4-inch design, so it's just under 4 inches. Actually, it's like 3 3/4. And we'll see how that turns out when I get it all done. I'll let you guys know. All right, so here's what I chose for those 4 other smaller sections. So this is a 2-inch by 6-inch, and I think it was just a little bit bigger than that, but I used my machine just to shrink it down a little bit to fit a little bit better in what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to do that all around in those 4 areas, give it another little bit of a feather design to it. And I'm trying to decide, so I have this really pretty, it's kind of soft variegated thread. It's got yellows and blues and mauves in it, and I thought it might kind of match this. So I might try using it on doing that, I guess doing that design. I don't know if it's going to stand out as well, but then, you know, I don't always necessarily want the design to be the first thing I see. I don't know. I guess you won't know until you try. I may like it, I may not like it. I don't know. What do you guys think? I should just try it, and then if I like it, great. If I don't, well, at least I know what it looks like for next time. So, and I might not like it, but somebody else might like it. I don't know. Anyways, I think it'll show up because it's variegated. So I want it to show up a little bit, but I definitely don't want it to be as bright as those, and that's kind of what I was going for. So we'll just try one and see how it looks. Hopefully I like it, because I don't want to try to pull it all back out. Okay, I'll keep you posted. What do you guys think? It's, I like it because it's there, but it's not in your face like the little mandala. So it's just a nice soft touch of some pastels in there. So I think that'll look good on all four sides, just having that stitched out like that. So I did end up liking that color on it. It's very subtle, which I was kind of going for. This whole look of this pillow is going to be more of a softer look with the fabrics I chose. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get the other sides done and get this finished up. Okay, so here's my finished pillow. I put a little ruffle on it, which I'm still practicing, so I won't zoom in too close because there's a couple mistakes, but there's that nice little pastel of the feather plume, the mandalas. Anywho, that is the finished project. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. See the other side. There we go. Now what to do with it? Give it away, I guess. Anyways, I do like my ruffler foot. I just need to practice it a little bit more, and then sewing it on for the pillow. I just did like a flap closure on the back, but my corners, it's kind of hard to do the corners. I think I need to practice that a little bit more. But anyways, overall, I think it was a fun project. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for next month.